oh my God, I on this cycle am at here. I'm at want to do. I haven't done it and I can't do it yet, but I wanted to do it. So I picked up a guitar and I started playing it. So I was at the do section. When I'm at do and I'm doing it, I was proving to myself, oh my God, I can play a chord, right? And I got to can do. And because I could do it, I was like, you know what? I want to try it again. So, but the point is to be able to jump anywhere. So, for those of you at home saying, for example, like my kid just won't do math, like doesn't want to, you have to start at the do. You have to just make, okay, like not obviously in a mean way, but what you want to do is find ways to get them to do it so they can prove to themselves they can do it, so they want to do it. We don't want to do things that we can't do. That feels gross. And also, we are taught that we get negative reinforcement when we do that. So, you want to encourage your kid to do math, give them something easier to do, something you know they can do, get them feeling all excited because they can do it, give them those signs of approval, and you'll find that they want to do it more and more. But this goes into teaching your kids simultaneously about what it means to have a growth mindset. Your kids need to believe that they can change, right? They have to believe that they are not born with fixed skills. So that becomes very important, right? At the same time, simultaneously, you want to be saying to your kids, actually, ignore that for a sec. You want to be saying to your kids, you're doing this because the cool thing is we are just born like blank canvases and we can change the way that painting comes out. Every single day, we can make choices that change it. Now, there are a few things you can do depending on how familiar you are with growth mindset. There is a book called Bubblegum Brain that I'm obsessed with for kids. It's a picture book. It shows kids that their brains are elastic and mushy and then they can reshape them. I think teaching your students about this is the first step in math class because it is so ingrained in us that some people are just born math people that we need to do work on the floor to get rid of it. We have to fight it. And I'm telling you guys, it's a big fight because every movie out there, in my opinion, reinforces the idea that there are geniuses and then there are cheerleaders. Like literally, I've never seen a movie where the cheerleader is good at math. Like Netflix, if you're watching, do something about that. Anyways, so like we need to fight that. So it's our job to teach kids, hey, guess what? That's not true. You can also do that by sharing stories of things you used to be bad at that now you're better at, right? Like, so that's how you want to reinforce growth mindset. Me telling the story of I failed grade 11 math twice and then I got a 99 normally helps me, right? Because kids will be like, oh, well, if you can do it, like, why can't I do it? So that's really, really good. Um, and also showing your students the value of not getting it right the first time. It doesn't end there. So I'm going to tell you my story that is me bragging about my band because like at this point I need to impress you. Obviously, you're a little bored, you're like, "Okay, spice it up, fine." Okay. So I told you guys I'd always wanted to be a rock star. And there were many signs that I should not be. For example, we used to have a show here called Canadian Idol. I don't know if any of you watched it. I auditioned for it twice, waited in line for 8 hours, and literally got kicked off the stage within 3 minutes. No, like 3 seconds. I sang I'll Never Break of I'll Never Break Your Heart by the Backstreet Boys, and they were like, next, go. Anyways, I never got the solo in choir. Like, there were no, I mean, I just wanted to be the next Britney without like much behind that. Anyways, once I realized I could do math and was like, oh my God, what else can I do? I started a band. So this was 10 years ago. After our first show, I got off stage and I went outside, and this man came up to me and he was like, "Hey, are you the singer of the band?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah," like expecting a compliment. And he looked at me and he goes, "I just want you to know that you're the worst singer I've ever heard in my life." Amber, I love your reaction. I know. And I was like, "Oh my God." Like, but I can't tell you. Obviously, I was like pissed off, but I'll tell you, the next day I woke up and I was like, okay, so I guess I'll get a vocal coach. Like, that was pretty quickly my thought, as opposed to, well, I guess this isn't for me. So I got a vocal coach, and 8 years later, so this is 2 years ago, that's a picture of us opening for Bon Jovi at the Scotiabank Arena in front of 10,000 people. Emperor's reactions are the best. Good thing you have your camera on. But all this to say, if that guy had never told me how much I sucked, I may have never gotten a vocal coach and I may have never been good enough to open for Bon Jovi.
You
So,
were only
like,
halfway there, and the
yes,
vocal coach
someone,
brought you all the way.
good one, good one. Someone had to do it. Wow, no one's ever made a Bon Jovi lyric joke. I'm glad you did that. We were literally living on a prayer. Thank you. Thank you for that. um, and this is the kind of thing, though, you want to keep reinforcing to your students. When things go awry, when they don't go the way they planned, but isn't that a good thing? What did you learn from this? How is this going to make you better? And telling stories like these help, right? And also as an adult, like being aware of stuff that I just don't think I was ever aware of. Like I read this whole study about how young toddlers start reading adults' cues. So, like, if they make a mistake and you're frowning and like, ugh, they very quickly learn that there's a negative reaction that gets produced in adults if they fail. So they start wanting to avoid failure. So it's hard to like relearn our behaviors, right? And smile when mistakes are made and stuff like that. But that is really what reinforces that growth mindset. Okay, so let's move on to tip number two. So number one, growth mindset. We're done with that. Moving on to number two. I mean, these are all related, but just to, redefining success. And this is such a big one in math. When I was doing this, I actually looked up success in the dictionary because I was so curious about it. So success is defined by Merriam-Webster, whoever that actually is in real life, is defined as the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. And failure is simply lack of success. Well, I found that very depressing because, quite frankly, some of my most successful moments have been when I did not accomplish my aim or purpose and something better happened. So, actually, that Bon Jovi example is a really good example. Like, it certainly wasn't my goal to end a show having a guy tell me I sucked. Like, definitely failure, technically, but something way better happened. Yeah, say it. What are you going to say?
No.
Oh, your mic's on.
Oh,
You
it is?
unmuted.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God.
was like, yeah, it's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. Anyone, feel free to shout out anything at any time. Okay, so that and also, guys, I feel as adults, we know this. How many times have you broken up with someone just to be down the road like, oh my God, that was the best thing that ever happened to me? We certainly don't enter relationships wanting to break up with people, but when they happen, which technically is not success because it is not the accomplishment of an aim or purpose, that turns out to be better. Or you don't get the job you really wanted, but you get something better. Or you get fired and you think it's the worst thing ever, but you end up starting your own company. Like there's so many examples. So I think that we have a real problem in math class with how we define success. Because in math class, we define success as getting high marks, memorizing stuff, being really good at mental math, and not working hard. Like, have you ever noticed that when people say someone's good at math, it's always like, oh, they're just so good at it without trying. It's like the weirdest way that we've defined what it means to be successful in math. Now, again, I know the curriculum is partially to blame here, but the emphasis on right and wrong in math class is just bad. The emphasis on marks, I mean, that's bad for the whole school system, but it's just so apparent in math class. So I would say that now it's time to redefine success so that, again, first of all, in growth mindset, we've already started talking to kids about how failure isn't actually a bad thing. But now we're going to go a step further and be like, and we're actually going to redefine success for you. It's like a double whammy, right? So we want to start celebrating progress. We want to redefine what it means to be good at math. So here are some things you can do to redefine success. Number one, tell stories about the time you failed and how it actually worked out even better or what you learned. Number two, reward hard work and perseverance because guess what? Success in math doesn't mean you're fast and it doesn't mean things are easy. That's not what it means. Rewarding progress instead of perfection. If someone got a 60 today and a 59 yesterday, like pull out the confetti cannons, like that's amazing. That's great. And celebrate failure and lessons learned. I actually have a stack of failure certificates at my math tutoring studio, and I make them for students. At the end of sessions, we'll be like, okay, so what mistake did you make or what did you fail at today? We'll write it down like a diploma, what they learned from it, and they go stick it on their wall so they can start getting excited because every time you fail or make a mistake and learn from it, you're really on the path to growth, right? So, and also, I want to really redefine what it means to be good at math, right? Like, and this will come in the next section in 1 second when we talk about hard work, but I really find that we define being good at math so narrowly that we miss most of the population, right? Like we define it in this ridiculous way that actually doesn't mean much. Like being good at math means you're good at solving a problem. It means you can read a map, or it means you can't read a map and you figure out how to get from A to B anyways. It means you can pack a trunk like a Tetris game. It means you can spot patterns and trends. It means you can come up with ways to do things that your friend didn't think of. Like, there are so many ways to be good at math. We have to stop saying that being successful in math just means this. It just means getting a 90. It just means memorizing your times tables. So, the more we widen that gap, the more the students in our lives feel included in the definition and the more motivated they are to keep trying because there's actually a spot for them. Because if we shut it down at, well, being good at math means you can do mental math really quickly, we leave so many people out that they're not going to be motivated to try. So, and that's only one way to be good at math. So, redefining success is really important. Okay, we have three more. Does anyone have anything they need to say right now? How are we feeling? My chat actually disappeared. So, like, I don't know if people are oh, wait, hold on. I brought it back. Um, yes, 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 yes. Someone just said good. Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm going to keep going on. Number three, this is a big one. I know all the adults in the room feel me on this one. So, I think we've gotten to a point where hard work is like the enemy, right? We're in such an instant gratification world that if the solution doesn't come instantly, if we can't find it on our phone, if it doesn't happen right away, we don't want to do it. Okay, I want us to all dig deep to, it could be today, it could be yesterday, it could be 10 years ago, that really hard thing you did that sucked while you were doing it, that made you feel the best ever after because you were like, I can't believe I actually did that thing. So, like, think of what that thing is for you. I can think of like a lot of things. Even quite frankly, going for a run every day is that thing for me. Like I never want to do it. And then I do it and I'm like really proud of myself after. I'm like, that was hard. That was hard. And I did it and I feel stronger and I feel more capable of doing other hard things. We really need to start celebrating hard work because, again, as I said in that success piece, we define being good at math as something that comes as ease. Kids who are naturally, how many times do we say they're so gifted, they're so naturally good at it, they don't have to work hard? Okay, wait, I have to tell you guys this story actually. I got a call from a parent the other day and she goes, so I'm looking to get a tutor for my daughter. And I'm like, okay, what's going on with your daughter? Well, she's getting 90s in math, but she just has to work so hard for them. My son is getting like 60s, but the thing is, it comes so easy to him. So I'm just not really concerned. How messed up is that? I'm like, okay, what? So you want a tutor for your daughter who's getting a 90 because you don't like the fact that she has to work hard, yet your son who's getting a 60, you've decided he's a natural born genius. And like, it just made no sense. But it's not unusual. I get phone calls like this all the time. I actually have so many students at the Math Guru who are high achieving students getting 90s whose issue, and I'm using quotes, like their issue is they have to work hard, so they think they're not smart. And it is such a bad stereotype. Honestly, I really think again, I'm always like, ugh, the media. But seriously, the media, right? We always position math people as like these people, normally white men who are so naturally smart. They're just like, they don't even have to try so hard, but they're so smart that they also don't have social skills or like any other interest because like they're just so embroiled in math. Like it sets a wrong tone for what it means to be good at math. We have to stop because the truth is that, again, remember what I told you guys, this isn't about math. We want to raise kids who like to work hard and who feel satisfaction from that hard work because that is going to be way more important than a 90 they get without trying in math class. Like, trust me, right? So, like, that idea of resilience, of grit. I have an Angela Duckworth quote. I recommend that everyone read the book Grit. It is so good. I'm writing it in the chat. Grit. It's all about, how when you're talking about living a good life, getting a good job, happiness, grit is way more predictive of that. So that's like how much you stick with something even when it's hard is way more predictive of that than really anything else. And she tells the story about her kid who like at the end of doing like a swimming competition comes out of the water and her mom is like, "So how was that?" And the kid is like smiling and says, "Oh my God, that was so hard." Like it's a positive adjective, right? I'm like, oh my God, is it an adjective? Yes, it is. Okay. So like it's a positive adjective, right? Not something to be, something to be really proud of when you do something hard. So again, we and as math teachers, like that's a big, big goal for us because math is always positioned as hard. So we need to start teaching students that that's exciting. Like, oh my God, it's hard. Cool. Let's get to it. Like that shouldn't be a deterrent. It should be a motivator. It should be a challenge. It should be really fun. So, you know, uh, there's a lot of stuff I can say to you about that, which is like, again, even if you're a parent or a teacher who is anxious around math, a lot of math teachers, especially elementary teachers, don't feel great about their own math abilities. one thing you're an expert in is hard work, because all adults are experts in hard work, right? Like you can probably rattle off times when you've worked your butt off when you didn't even achieve the goal, but you know what? Just knowing you did it was a reward. So these are the kinds of things you want to talk to your students about. So your to-do list for how are we going to teach kids the value of hard work? There's a few things. Number one, I really like celebrating work. So for example, like on Instagram, when our studio was open, but even now, I'll showcase pictures of students doing work and feeling pumped about it. So I'll be like, oh my God, like so and so and their friends are at the Math Guru right now. They've been here for 6 hours. Like they've had like 4 cups of Starbucks, like da 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 da. And like these kids will start getting excited about it. I didn't mention this because it's not open for COVID, but I actually created North America's first ever pop-up study lounge 2 years ago. And it was literally, guys, it was a like picture a really dope lounge with velvet couches and like it looked like a hipster coffee shop. And all it was for exams. And all it was is a place for kids to come study. Okay. And everyone in the neighborhood was like, who's going to come to this? There were lineups, no clue, down the block every single day. Like we were constantly, it was like a club. Like I needed a bouncer. Like we were constantly at capacity because kids were so pumped to like come in and sit with their friends and like take Instagram photos and like order Uber Eats and sit there and be like, oh, I've been here for 10 hours. Like we created this whole culture around hard work being a thing you can do socially, hard work being something you can be proud of. And it's really, I think, because when I was in high school at that alternative school, I had these friends, and we would literally every night go to this coffee shop called Sweet Surrenders. And we would stay there till it closed at midnight, and we would all study. And we were like really into it, and we were taking pride in it and making our notes look really good. So I really think it's possible to create that culture. So, especially again, if you have a classroom, like this is like so exciting for you, because I would even set up like workstations where it's like, okay, it's hard work time. Like for the next 23 minutes, it's hard work. It's not work time, it's hard work time. I want you to work as hard as you can somewhere, and like set it up for them, get them excited, have supplies. Like, what do you need when you're working hard? You need snacks, you need water, you need like I would make it a whole thing. And Kyla says like the study group idea. I mean, I love the idea because that's another myth in math that math is a loner social activity. No, Kine actually from Canada's Drag Race taught us this last week in our Pi Day workshop. Math is a testament to our greatest teamwork. Pi was invented because, or not invented, pi was discovered because people all around the globe were coming up with methods to figure out what pi was. The greatest math problems, it's not that one mathematician solves them, it takes decades and decades of different mathematicians contributing pieces. So we want to encourage that. And we want to encourage, like, we don't just need an answer. Like, we're not solution focused. Let's get pumped about the process of working hard at something that you might not even finish. Like, so I would do stuff like that. If you're talking about your home, like, even if it's a corner of the dining room table, create a hard workstation for your child. So when it's time for them to do homework, they go to this place and they have like things there. Like if it was mine, like the things I have at my workstation, I have like weird crystals, like rose quartz for self-love, like amethyst for calming. I have candles, I have incense, I have water, I've got flowers, like I have all these things. I've got like all my writing utensils, like I have my notebook with my name on it. So when I go to that place, I'm like, I'm in the zone and I know what I have to do when I'm here. So I would do stuff like that just to, again, get excited about doing work because it actually feels so good. And like hard work is one of those things where you actually don't need a result to feel good because the process of doing it, is the reward. We just have to teach kids that. So the final thing I would say, and we're going to move on to language, is not to make ease the goal in your math class, right? Like the goal is not for anything to be easy. Again, like not anyone's fault. I think we're just really trained to do this and to say things like it's so easy, but we don't want that to be the goal because then when things aren't easy, kids give up. So this gets to one of my favorite ones, which is watch your language. And I swear, if all of you have to leave right now, Kyla, I know you have to leave in a second. If there's one thing you take away from this presentation, we are all of us never saying the term math person again. Okay, like we're done. It doesn't exist. It's a bad word. It's worse than the F bomb. Like we're not saying it. We're done. Um, okay, language is so important. Okay, hold on. I'm reading this quickly. A female Queen's University student. Yes, 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 yes. I know, totally. Okay, so okay, we need to watch our language. So there's a few ways this plays out. Number one, in reinforcing stereotypes. So saying things like, well, There are just types of people who are creative. There are just types of people who are logical. Oh, I'm more of an artsy type. We want to get away from categorizing because, again, movies, everything media, we are obsessed with categorizing, and kids can't help but feel like they need to fit into a box. So this again really happened to me when I was younger. Like everyone was like, "Well, you're more of the creative type. You're not really a math person." And right away I self-selected myself out of math, right? Even now, like if I get off stage from performing at a rock show, the first, when somebody asks me what I do in real life, because everyone knows you don't make money in a band, um, and I say I'm a math teacher, like the first comment is, "You don't look like a math teacher." Like, what does that mean? Right? Like again, what are we teaching kids? We want them to start understanding that to be good at math does not mean they have to shed their personality at the door, right? Like you could be a cheerleader and be good at math. You could be a jock and be good at math. You can do whatever you want. Like being good at math is just an additional skill. We don't say things like, I'm just more of like a literacy person. I just like being literate. So I don't have any other interests. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but we have this weird idea that if you are numerate, if you like math, you're a type of person. So we have to get rid of any language that has to do with that. I would just watch out for categories. And I would question people when they say, I really hate when people say left brain, right brain. It like drives me nuts. Like, what does that mean? I can't even. Okay, whatever. Moving on. Other things we want to get rid of is language like hard and easy. So I know that math teachers will sometimes say, okay, most people find this really hard, thinking they're going to make kids feel better if they find it hard. But it just has negative connotations. It intimidates students. Same with the word easy, like we talked about. Then if a student doesn't feel like the thing is easy, they feel like they're left out. So I'd watch words like that, like any judgment words around math. And a really big one is listening to the way kids are talking about themselves or each other and how you talk about yourself. So not saying things like, "Oh, God, I made a mistake. I'm so dumb." Right? Like, "Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Like that was so dumb of me." So I like have I mean, I can't really charge my students money, but I still have a jar at the Math Guru that's like if you call yourself stupid while making a mistake, you owe me $1. Like if you say the term math person, you owe me $1. Start getting kids to be much kinder to themselves. If a kid is telling themselves they're dumb every time they make a mistake, they're not going to want to make a mistake, right? So start retraining that self talk. Maybe make a list in class of alternative words to use, right? Like not so loaded words they can use, stuff like that. So anything that categorizes limits or negative self talks, I would just get on top of that. And then finally, the last tip is actually believing. So this might seem so simple, but I'm going to say this. When a kid learns to walk, okay, the kid like falls a million times. Like some of them take longer than others. Like some of them take like months longer. Some don't start till a year later. Are parents ever like, you know what, guys? I just don't think Johnny's going to be a walker. Yeah, I think he's just not a walker. Like we should probably just like stop trying. Like no, like for the most part, in most cases, not all, we believe the kid is going to walk and we are kind and caring and nurturing until they finally figure it out. But what happens is the second a kid shows that they're struggling with math, we're so easy to write them off and say, you know what, they're probably not a math person. Let's try and nurture some other interests. And kids know that. They can tell if you believe in them or not. So your number one job truly is to be a coach, a cheerleader, and a motivational speaker to make sure that everyone in your class or your kids or whoever knows that you of course know they can do math. Like it's not even a question to you, right? And if you've done steps 1 to 4, redefining what it means to be good at math, for example, that can be true. You don't need to believe every kid in your class is going to get a 90 because that's not what being good at math is anymore, right? Like being good at math means a whole range of things. And I'm sure you can find it within yourself to believe that every kid in your class is good at least one of those things. And honestly, like that feeling I got when I walked into that math class and that my math teacher just said, a math person isn't a thing. And it was so clear she believed in me. That changed my life. And it really just takes one person to believe, right? To really change the way you feel about yourself. So that's the number one takeaway is to actually start convincing yourself that this is true, right? Which it is if we change our definition of what it means to be good at math, which is also true. So believe. So finally, I'm going to do a little recap and then we're going to pause, take questions, share some thoughts. We have growth mindset, redefining success, teaching your kids the value of hard work, watching your language, and believing. And we want to get to this goal where kids can enter the math spectrum anywhere along the wheel and feel completely welcome and like they belong. So I'm going to put this up right now, which is just my contact info. Again, I share a lot of resources on Instagram. If you're an Instagram person, I'm happy to chat. I always want to I really I have a lot of teachers that follow me, so I really want to build a community of educators and people who are kind of into this cause of changing math culture. So we can just, because it really things, it's no longer top down anymore, right? Like culture really shifts from the inside out. And I really think we have that ability to start changing math culture. If we all leave here with new attitudes about what it means to be good at math and we start treating kids this way, start treating colleagues this way, it trickles out. It is exponential. There's my math